At our son's lavish housewarming party, my wife grabbed my hand and whispered, "We need to leave, now." I asked, "Why?" She stayed silent until we got in the car. Finally, she turned to me and said, "You didn't actually see it, did you?" What she said next left me frozen. She waited until we were 3 blocks away before she answered. "The ring," she said. "His wife is wearing your mother's ring." I laughed because that was impossible. My mother's ring was a square-cut emerald in a plain gold band, and it had been gone for 2 years. My wife looked at me the way she does when she is done being doubted. "I sat across from her for an hour," she said. "I watched her twist it while she talked about backsplash tile. I would know that ring in my sleep." We drove the rest of the way home in silence. 2 years ago, we came home from my brother-in-law's funeral to a smashed kitchen window and an open safe. Whoever did it walked past the television, past my wife's purse on the counter, straight to the bedroom closet. They took the ring, my coin collection, and $38,000 in cash we had been setting aside for a lake cottage. The alarm never went off. The responding officer wrote that down twice, then asked who had the code. "Us, the alarm company, and our son," I told him. "He waters the plants when we travel." The officer wrote that down too. I remember being annoyed that he did. Our son drove over that same night. He boarded the window with plywood from his own truck, changed the locks himself, and sat on the porch with his arm around his mother while she cried. He kept saying the same thing. "Whoever it was, they are gone now. You are safe." He was 31 years old, and I remember thinking, standing in my ransacked bedroom, that we had raised a good man. We filed the report. The insurance company paid out on the ring and the coins after 4 months of paperwork. The cash was just gone. We grieved the ring most because money is money. But my mother wore that emerald for 50 years and never once took it off. Then last spring, our son bought a house we could not explain. 4 bedrooms, a stone patio, a neighborhood where the landscaping trucks outnumber the mail trucks. He managed a phone store. His wife did social media for a dental group. I asked him once, gently, how they swung it, and he smiled and said they got creative with the down payment. I let it go. "You want to believe your kids are doing well?" The housewarming had 40 guests, a hired bartender, and string lights over the patio. I shook hands and admired the kitchen island. My wife, it turns out, spent the evening watching a ring. She laughed in all the right places. She complimented the backsplash. I had no idea she could do that. And before we left, she asked our daughter-in-law for a picture. The two of them, cheeks together, hands stacked on the marble island, the emerald in perfect focus. Our daughter-in-law loved the idea. She even angled her fingers toward the light. The next morning, we took the photo to the detective who had worked our case. He is close to retirement, the kind of man who says little and forgets less. He studied the picture for a long time. Then he pulled our file, and I watched him find his own note from 2 years ago, the one about who had the alarm code. He asked a single question before we left. "Does your son know you came in today?" We said no. He said good and kept the photo. He called 4 days later, and I felt the floor drop, and then, for one strange minute, come back. The ring had been purchased at a pawn shop 40 minutes from our house, 8 months after the break-in. Purchased legally, over the counter, by our daughter-in-law. I actually felt relief. Maybe she had bought a stolen ring without knowing it. Maybe our son had nothing to do with any of this. He let me finish the thought. "I pulled the rest of that shop's records," he said. "You and your wife should come in." We sat in a small gray room, and he slid a photocopy across the table. A pawn slip from that same shop, older than the other one. The item line read, "1 square-cut emerald ring, yellow gold band." I did not understand what I was looking at until I reached the seller line, and then I understood everything at once, because I had watched that signature form on homework pages at our kitchen table. My son pawned my mother's ring 19 days after the break-in. My coin collection went on the same slip. A cash deposit hit his bank 11 days after that. 38,000, almost to the dollar of his down payment. There was no burglar. There was a window broken from the inside by a man who spent that night holding his crying mother on our porch. They arrested him at the house on a Tuesday morning. Staged burglary, insurance fraud, grand theft. Our daughter-in-law surrendered the ring on the front steps while the neighbors watered their lawns. And the photo my wife asked for with a smile, 2 women cheek to cheek, the emerald catching the string lights, is now page 1 of the evidence file.